Hey, it's Steve. In this video, we're going to take a quick look at the benchwork and the features of this benchwork on the new 2x4 foot project layout. Okay, so I'll have a full video on the construction of this benchwork coming up here in a week or two, but for now I just wanted to show you where things are at with the benchwork and kind of how I'm looking at building everything and the features that I've incorporated into the build of this benchwork. So you can see again with this layout, it is a three-tiered project layout. I have a double main line on the lower level, then kind of an industrial switching area on the second level, and then a tram line on the third level, which will be kind of an urban area with structures pretty much filling that whole space. And really most of the middle level will be filled with structures as well, but those will all be industrial structures, warehouses, maybe a food processing plant, you know, those kinds of things. So a very urban looking layout for this project. So anyway, let's take a look at a few of the features that I've incorporated into this benchwork. So for the bottom tier of the benchwork, I've actually used a 1-inch thick piece of insulation foam board, and on either side of that I have 1/4-inch birch plywood. Now this makes for a very sturdy but very lightweight lower level for the benchwork. And so it also incorporates that foam interior, which makes it easy to drill holes through it and run wires while still providing for a very clean looking bottom. And so that will allow me to easily move it around without worrying about snagging wires on things and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the idea there. I do have some sections where I have a couple layers of plywood in between the top and bottom birch plywood level to provide some surfaces to like nail and screw things into. So when I do have the fascia installed here on the front, I'll have something to actually attach it to, and it's like that all the way around. So while I do have foam for most of it, I do have some blocks of wood here and there to allow for a surface to actually attach screws to for putting on the outside of the layout. The legs on this layout are just temporary. These are from an old project layout, but I had them around and they do have casters on them. And so this way I can wheel around the layout, and that makes it a lot easier to do the construction. Now you'll notice that the sides of the layout don't have any access holes at this point. And what I decided to do, since I do have so much of the track work basically enclosed, was to use lift out and hinge sections that will allow me to access everything that is enclosed within the interior of the layout. So for this top section here, the entire thing will lift off, and that will give you access to the interior area there if there's a derailment and you need to remove something, or the interior of this top level. Now this middle section is actually hinged, so the entire top half of the layout will hinge upwards, allowing me access to the interior of the bottom section. And I have a couple strong neodymium magnets here, and that will attach to some metal plates down there, and so it does kind of lock close when it is in the down position. And that will just help to keep the two levels pretty flush, so I won't have like a gap there that will look kind of unsightly. And I do plan to have a retaining wall on this lower level that will extend upwards in front of the edge of this middle level and hide that, so you won't see this gap here when it's in the closed position. So besides having access to the entirety of the lower level, I plan to use this bay here in the middle for a lot of the electronics, as well as an area to store rolling stock and locomotives and that kind of thing as well. So you can see here I have a hole there, and that is taking the wire from the front track here into a couple of these battery powered throttles here. But I plan to have a lot of the electronics mounted in here. I'll still have everything mounted to the front of the fascia in terms of jacks for the DCC throttle, for the other controls for the DC throttles and that kind of thing, as well as all the push button controls for the turnouts and any other toggle switches for lights or whatever else. Those will all be mounted on the exterior here, but in terms of lighting controls or turnout controls, that kind of thing, those will all be in the interior bay there. And because it will be mounted facing upwards, it will make it very easy to work on the electronics, because they'll be not on the bottom side of the layout, but basically right there, and very easy to get to. So anyway, there's a quick overview of the new 2x4 foot N scale project layout. Again, I'll have a full overview of how I built this benchwork to this point coming up here in a couple of weeks. But this week I wanted to give you a status update on where things are at and kind of what I'm doing here for this project layout. Anyway, that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Bye.